call to order the regular meeting of West Valley City Council. We note that we have full quorum present. All council members are in attendance. With that, we'll turn to Council Member Tom Hyun for our opening ceremony.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it very much. Just invite all of you to stand up and do a pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the approval of our minutes from April 16th. To the council for a motion on the minutes.
Move for approval for the minutes for April 16th. Sorry, Mayor. I move for approval of the minutes from April 16th.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes unanimously. The minutes are approved. Next we go to our portion of the agenda where we're going to deal with a couple of proclamations. And so the first one is one that I will read. Actually, this one was initiated by our Youth City Council, and they made some recommendations for recognizing this. And so we've kind of narrowed that down a little more to what we would like to see from the council, but we appreciate their work and their involvement in that. We have a very active Youth City Council, and so it's good to have them be involved. So I'm going to read this proclamation, recognizing and supporting the diversity among the residents of the city. West Valley City is a community of over 135,000 people made up of a multitude of different ethnic groups related to each other through culture, language, and religion, which have added distinction and diversity to our community's arts and businesses and are an integral part of Utah's rich history and heritage. The U.S. Census data shows that West Valley City is now a minority-majority city. Other Utah cities may become minority-majority cities, and West Valley is leading the way by appreciating different cultural contributions and recognizing that diversity can make our communities and economies more vibrant and sustainable. Whereas, I'm skipping those, sorry. We encourage all of the city's residents to fully participate in the cultural, spiritual, social, political, and commercial life of the community that contributes to the growth and vitality of the city's neighborhoods and businesses. A community thrives if the inherent worth of all individuals is respected and they are free to live their lives with dignity, free of intimidation, hatred, and prejudice, rooted in fear of their race, religion, culture, or other factors. City officials recognize the value of all residents contributing to the vision of making West Valley City a place where residents, businesses, and government all work together to build a safe, healthy, and creative community where people are proud to live, work, shop, play, and learn. Now, therefore, the Mayor and City Council of West Valley City acknowledges, respects, and recognizes the wide diversity of opinions, beliefs, backgrounds, and cultures in our city and encourages all residents to do the same. With that one, we next have one on Arbor Day. Oh, trying to remember who said that. So, Councilman Christensen.
This is a proclamation declaring April 26th, 2019 as Arbor Day in West Valley City. West Valley City, Utah has committed considerable time and resources to the urban forest and has chosen to set aside a special day for the planting of trees. This holiday is called Arbor Day, is observed in every state in the Union and throughout the world. Trees can reduce the erosion by wind and water of our precious topsoil, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees growing in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify the community. West Valley City has been a recipient of Tree City USA for 24 years and has received the Growth Award 14 times and is the longest active recipient of these recognitions in the state of Utah. West Valley City received the Sterling Tree City Award in 2013, is one of 4 to receive that recognition in the state of Utah, and is one of only 397 recipients nationwide. And West Valley City has approximately 4,050 trees in parks and on city-owned properties, and West Valley City will celebrate Arbor Day by planting 28 trees at Centennial Park. Therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of West Valley City, do hereby declare April 26, 2019 as Arbor Day in West Valley City and urge all citizens to support efforts to protect the trees and woodlands, to support the city's urban forest, and to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations.
Thank you. Next we go to our comment period. We have, I think, some new people here to it. You'll note we have our timer here. Each person is allowed up to, but not required to take, 5 minutes. Generally, this is your time. Unless you do something really wild, start, doing crazy things, swinging a bat or something, then might interrupt you. But otherwise, the time is yours. And we just say to you, it's not a discussion, it's not question and answer. It's your time to share your information with us. Afterwards, oh yes, there is a public hearing if you're here to for application ZT3 2019 or Ordinance 19-11. We'll have a separate public comment period on that. And so I'll ask you that as on each of these here. So you're aware state law prohibits us from having a policy discussion when we meet as a council unless it is on our agenda. So if you bring up a policy issue, we generally will not comment a lot. If it is a comment, it's pretty minor, so that we can, before we can discuss it. Now we can talk with you out in the hall, that's okay. But we can't do it as a part of our official business with all of the council members. So we'll refrain from very many comments. You'll see that although we check to see if there may be any questions or a couple of things like that, but otherwise we just move on. With that then, we'll now entertain public comment. The first one here is Ben Fossman. Is that close?
Feldman?
Feldman?
Yes.
Are you from Gilbert, Arizona?
Yeah, I was just here to answer questions on one of the things on the agenda. That was all I've going.
Okay, then we'll
Yes.
hold off on a minute. Yeah, it's the public hearing that we'll do in just a few minutes. But we have to have this time for all of our citizens. So Diane Henderson? I can't read it. I can't decipher that. Is there a Diane here from Valdown Avenue?
This Diane's here.
Okay. Are you on the issue on the public hearing on the communication towers, or?
I think mine's different.
Okay. Then you're welcome to come up to the microphone and share your thoughts with us.
It's your turn to go and you could stand there and say that. I'm going to listen.
signed it.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite.
She just signed it. Like signed it in the top.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. You're not the first one. No, you're fine. So then Pete Olson. Okay.
Hi, gentlemen. I'm just here to vent. And I realize at the end of this, I'm going to have to pay this citation. And so I just want to let off my steam about a citation I received a week ago.
And now, we just caution you, you are being recorded. This is a public meeting, so everything you say will be recorded for anyone else to hear. So you may not want to use certain words if you're really venting really hard.
I called you gentlemen, do I ever? I received the citation a week ago. And I'm going to digress a little bit into a little bit of history as why I'm upset about this. Several years ago, my son left his little hand scooter out on my front lawn, came in and had a sandwich come out, and of course, boom, a thief come along and it's gone. So I have to replace the scooter. A couple of years goes by, somebody comes by in the middle of the night, unscrewed my fence, my wood fence, unscrewed a section, came in, took his bicycle, you know. Well, that kind of was upsetting. We thought everything was safe and secure and okay. Then a week ago, I received a citation because I had parked my motorcycle in front of my house on my sidewalk. I did this so that it was a place in the sun. I needed to wash it off, and the sun was going to let it dry before I started up again, because electronics and water just sometimes don't communicate well. So after I washed it off, I was just going to go in, get my camera so I could take a nice picture of my shiny bicycle in the sun, grabbed a couple of saddlebags that belonged to the bike. I came out, I wasn't in there but a few minutes, and I came out and I see the citation stuck on my bike. Now I feel like if I was irresponsible about parking my bike at a time or a place where people were going to, my bike was going to obstruct them, why I feel like I would be deserving of a citation. But I did it responsibly when there was nobody around, a time of day and a place where there was nothing. And nobody ever came by while I washed the bike, cleaned the bike, and I was there for a period of time. And then, I guess from my point of view, it seemed like as soon as I went in, there must have been somebody down the street waiting to see if they could stick me and steal money from me for a citation. I compare it to the same as the people who took my boy's bike and little scooter. I apologize for parking on the sidewalk, but I feel that these type of citations make us citizens kind of angry. 28 bucks isn't going to kill me, but it sure makes me angry. I guess the bottom line is there's no way I can have this relieved, but being a retired person, not working, 28 bucks is not going to be replaced. So I appreciate you letting me vent. If there's anybody else who would volunteer to pay my fine, I'd appreciate it. Is there anything else I can do other than vent? Could I ask that question, Mayor?
When your time is finished. You ask
I'm done then.
Okay.
But I appreciate you letting me speak, and appreciate you guys what you do.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, we do need to see if there are others here. Anyone else here to speak tonight in our public comment? Oh, over there. Yes. And since you didn't sign our paper, why, would you state your name and address for the record so we could contact you if need be? Yeah, this isn't on that project for the temporary communication.
No.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I'm a code enforcement guy.
Why don't you give those to our recorder, and then you don't have to hand them out.
Okay. Thanks.
We'll see that everyone gets one.
Okay. I'm trying to get this on top. Wow, okay. I'm gonna have to talk fast. My name's Bill Angus. I live at 3149 South, 4180 West. I've lived there for 47 years. I've lived most of my life in West Valley City. The earliest memories I have are the winter of 48, 49, where the snow was very deep, and when it melted, 33rd South was flooded. Just east of Redwood Road, there were lakes on both sides. So I go way back. I graduated from Granger High in '61, first class to go all 3 years there. Graduated from U after I got back from Vietnam. I spent a year and a half in beautiful downtown Da Nang. So I don't forget it, the largest Siberian elm in the United States is in West Valley City. Happy Arbor Day. I've lived in the same house for 47 years. I came home on March 11th, about 2:30 p.m., and my street was pretty much crowded with, let's see, there were trucks and trailers, police cars, tow vehicles. There were at least 5 West Valley police at my neighbor's house. I think there were actually 7, but neither me or the neighbor counted them, actually. But we know there were at least 5. When I approached, they immediately said, "We're not involved. We're just here to be here." We know why they were there. But 7 seemed a little bit excessive. They said they were in a civil matter. It looked kind of like a raid to me. An awful lot of people there. 3 enforcement officers, 7 police, and a whole bunch of people with other stuff. Anyway, I mentioned that it seemed like a lot of people, and one of the code enforcement people said, well, I said, "I'm not aware of the history here." And they said, "Well, there's a long and extensive and long history, and page 2 shows that history. It's got quite a few things there, but the Garcias didn't purchase that house until April of 2010. So anything that's on there before April of 2010 they had nothing to do with it. They're great people. Love them. There haven't been any neighbor complaints about anything in their yard. The one picture shows a vehicle that was a project that Pablo wanted to complete, and other things got in the way of it. The abatement or the code enforcement officer said that he spoke to, it shows on, I think, page 3, he spoke to 2 family members on 12/14/2018, and he warned them, but during the following 2 weeks, he never had an opportunity to drive by and actually see if the vehicle had been removed. But he did. There's something going on with code enforcement. You have to call and ask them to come and inspect your property. They'll come and they'll cite you, but you have to call them. And if you don't call them, you're subject to an abatement order, and that can involve significant fines. In Pablo's case, because he had that truck parked outside of his yard, they went into his backyard with the abatement order, and he wound up paying almost $1,000 because he failed to make one phone call. And I don't think that's right. And I will see you again next week. And I'll continue.
All right, thank you.
I'll pick my things up again at the end of the session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, then we'll close public comment. Any comments from our city manager, assistant city manager, filling in for Wayne?
Well, I would just ask this good gentleman that stood first, if you look on the back of that citation, there's an appeal process that you could go through.
Yes, I did that, they told me to pay.
Okay, sorry, sir.
Okay, then, any comments from the council? Anything you want to add? Oh, there's,
Just to Mr. Angus, that we're not meeting next week. We don't meet on the 5th Tuesday, so if you want to come back
Okay,
in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Thank you. Day off.
You can also meet with us after.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing further, then we'll move on our agenda. We have application ZT3 2019, is filed by Ben Feldman of Pinnacle Consulting, representing AT&T Wireless. They wanted to change in our code that allows them to put up temporary communication towers in conjunction with an event. In conjunction with that, our official action would be taken through ordinance 19-11 to amend our code governing temporary uses. Generally speaking, this is a fairly large tower that they bring in for major events. I believe that they're just trying to set the stage across Utah and all the major cities, major metropolitan areas. And these are about 40 to 80 feet tall. They are temporary. They pull in a trailer, set it up, but in order to connect it up, currently it's fairly expensive for them to do this, so they only do it for events normally larger than 25,000 people. And then the standard would be that they could only do that 4 times a year on a particular piece of property. So for example, if they wanted to come out to the Maverick Center for some large event, they could do that no more than 4 times in a year. One of the things, because it was fairly broad, we wanted to say that there had to be, it didn't say anything about the number of people. They said that's generally what they do it for. So we put a minimum standard in there of at least 5,000 people. We didn't want that to, we don't know what the future will hold. With the way technology changes, those 40-foot towers might end up being 4-foot towers in another 10 years. So anyway, so we are going to allow this. We don't think it'll be used very often. There aren't that many events in West Valley that would draw that large of a crowd. So, I'm sorry, what's that, Mr.
I
Isaac?
think this is a public hearing.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm just thinking if I've got the introduction.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Is there anything else I ought to cover in the introduction? Okay. I think I got most of the pertinent facts there. That is what's before us. So, we'll declare open a public comment period on this. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak to this issue? Boy, we thought you all came to talk about this. Most of our stuff is fairly routine, and this probably wouldn't impact hardly any of our citizens. So, seeing no public comment, we'll close the public comment period, bring it back to the council.
Mayor, move for approval of ordinance 19-11.
Second.
Properly before us. Any further comments? Seeing none, then now our official business, we'll turn to our city recorder for the roll call vote.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang.
Yes.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfeld.
Yes.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, item 9, our resolution 19-42. This is to authorize the city to enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement with the county, Salt Lake County, for the receipt of funds from a committee called TRCC. It's officially Tourism, Recreation, Culture, and Convention. They allocate funds out for any of those 4 areas for a number of entities. Typically, they are mostly government entities, cities, and the like. The city requested and received approval for $250,000, yes, that's right, which we need to match. That was the agreement. This money was set aside to fund some of our cultural facilities projects over at the Cultural Celebration Center, some outside in the amphitheater, a few things there, some inside the Cultural Celebration Center. And so this is something that we requested, got approved, so the only way they'll give us the money is if we put it into writing, and so the purpose of the interlocal agreement. That's the introduction. Anything else? Okay. Seeing nothing else, then to the council for whatever you want to do on this one.
I move forward for the resolution 19-42.
Second.
Properly before us. Any more comments? Weren't many before, so there are none after. Then to our city recorder for the vote.
Councilman Nordfeld.
Yes.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Bueller.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lang.
Yes.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
And Mayor Bigelow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll be happy to get those funds and go forward with that. Now, that completes our regular city council meetings agenda. We will have a brief meeting right after this for our redevelopment agency for one matter of business. Well, and then maybe some discussion. I gotta approve the minutes things, but our regular city council meeting is done. Invite you to stay. It shouldn't take but 5, maybe 10 minutes at the most. With that, then, I'll entertain our final motion for our regular city council meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It passes unanimously. Our regular meeting's adjourned.
I now call to order a special meeting of the West Valley City Redevelopment Agency. And note, we've had an opening ceremony and that all agency members are present. The first order of business is the approval of minutes from our RDA meetings on April 2nd and April 9. Can those be entertained together, or do they need to be separate? Okay, so I'll open for a motion.
I move for approval of said minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. The main order of business for this meeting is Resolution 19-03, which has to do with a real estate purchase agreement just west of us here, a property adjacent to the Aspen Village Apartments, which is formerly a home, which is demolished and now in the total of $105,500. I'll open up for any discussion on this resolution.
Just note that the idea of purchasing this is to include it in our Fairborn Station area, which is continuing to develop.
Correct, within our redevelopment area. Thank you.
And with that, I guess I'll move for approval of Resolution 1903.
Second.
Motion and approval are before us. And with that, any other comments or discussion? If not, I'll turn it over to our reporter for the vote.
Ms. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Bueller.
Aye.
Mr. Hune.
Aye.
Mr. Bigelow.
Aye.
Mr. Christensen.
Yes.
Mr. Nordfeld.
Yes.
And Chairman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
With no further business then, I'll entertain motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Adjourn.